Good morning. I'm very privileged to have a chance to present my keynote paper in the 10th International Conference on Teacher Education, hosted at the National Ping Tung University. The topic of my presentation is Pedagogical Translanguaging in Bilingual Education, using the MEC to plan a unit of work in Content and Language Integrated Learning, CLIL. So here's the overview of my presentation. What is translanguaging pedagogy in bilingual education and content-based language education and CLIL, and how to use the MEC to plan a unit of work, and I will have an example. So what is content-based language education? This is an umbrella term in bilingual education to refer to a whole range of approaches that focus on teaching both content and language, or using content to provide an authentic context to teach and learn language. Remember, when we were school children, we did a lot of grammar exercises, right? Or vocab learning exercises, and that might not be the best way to motivate students nowadays. So using interesting content has become a very important approach in bilingual education. So it can be conducted by subject specialists like a biology teacher or science teacher or history teacher. In that sense, we call it hard CLIL, hard approach. Or it can be done by a language teacher, like an English teacher, but who is also interested in using content. Then we call it a soft CLIL. That is, language teachers can conduct this kind of approach. I'm not trained in the biology or in science, but I have been working with teachers, in language teachers, but also in collaboration with content specialists, science teachers, geographic teachers, and history teachers, social studies teachers. So it's actually a very collaborative approach. But you say, oh, I'm only an English teacher. Then you can also do soft CLIL, provided that you can Google and find valid information, or look up valid information in the topical area for your design of your lesson. So first of all, what is translanguaging pedagogy or pedagogical translanguaging? European scholars, Senlos and Gotter, working in the context of the Basque Country in Spain. For those who are not too familiar with that context, the Basque Country, they speak the Basque language, which is very different from the Spanish language. And in that context, they are helping students to develop not just bilingual education, but trilingual education, to develop the competencies in their Basque language in their region, very important to their cultural identity, the Basque language to the Basque Country, and the national language Spanish, and also develop their competencies in English, the international language. So it's very much bilingual education, trilingual education, plurilingual education approach. So what they do is working with lots of teachers, and they have developed this pedagogical translanguaging approach, which proves to be useful. So, and I have also traveled there to work with them, to give workshops to their teachers. So they are close colleagues. So this is the definition given by Senlos and Gotter. Pedagogical translanguaging is a theoretical and instructional approach that aims at improving language and content competencies in school context by using resources from the learner's holistic linguistic repertoire. All of their communicative resources, we mobilize them to scaffold students' learning. So pedagogical translanguaging is learner-centered, because we need to take into consideration students' strengths, to let students draw on their strengths, their strong abilities, the strong areas, and endorses the support and development of all the languages, like the Basque language, the Spanish language, the English language. In Taiwan context, it can be the Chinese Mandarin language, the English language, and even drawing on their home community familiar languages. It fosters the development of metalinguistic awareness so that they can compare and contrast different similarities and differences across different languages. By softening the boundaries between languages when learning languages and content, pedagogical translanguaging can be applied in language and content classes, and it can be valuable for the protection and promotion of minority languages. And it can also be useful for developing strong bilingualism and strong trilingualism. That is, you don't lose one language by adding on competencies of another language. So bilingual and trilingual education. This is a very useful approach. But then we also need to take care of a common question, a query arising from teachers and school administrators. They would say, oh, if we allow students to use their familiar languages, like they're familiar with Chinese, they're familiar with their home and community native languages, will they be relying on too much and they don't get a chance to practice using the target language? Now, this is a very legitimate concern. And because I have been working with teachers in a lot of Asian contexts, in Japan, in Korea, in Hong Kong, I have therefore taken seriously their queries. And over the years, in the past 10 years, I have developed what I call the MEC, the multimodalities and textualization cycle, to make sure that we both value students' linguistic repertoires and draw on their strengths so that they can be learning using all of their resources, but at the same time, make sure that we push students in stage 3 of the cycle to artificially narrow down their repertoire, to push them a bit to use the target languages and the target genres, target academic styles to communicate their meanings, their knowledge. So the MEC consists of 3 stages. The first stage is to create a very rich experiential context. We expose students, engage students by introducing a topic using all the modalities of meaning making, of communicating, modalities including language, like going beyond language, including visuals, images, YouTube videos, diagrams, tables, demonstrations, role plays, drama, activities, experimental explorations. So you name it, whole body engagement and multiple sensory engagement to introduce a content topic to them, so that we want students to be excited about the topic, want to learn more about the topic in order to solve some real life challenges and problems. So for example, how to eat healthily, it is a real life problem. And then in the second stage, once students got excited about learning more about this topic, we engage them in reading and taking notes. Now, reading and taking notes have proven to be one of the most important academic study skills in school context, in academic context. You're not just reading for fun. You're also reading to extract useful information and knowledge to solve some real life problems, right? So, and we need to help students to find out what is the main point and what are the supporting details and what are the examples to illustrate the main point. So they need to be able to see the main points and to be able to summarize it and to represent it in the form of a table, a tree diagram, a graphic organizer that can help them to concisely represent the main ideas from a piece of text. So in this second stage, we will have multiple sources. We will have bilingual text. We will allow students to draw on all kinds of sources so as to do their research to get their information about the topic. And then in the third stage, we push the students a bit. We artificially constrain the students, push them to use the target language. Like if they're learning English, then we push them to use English. And if we are learning an academic genre, like an academic report or a lab report, we push the students to produce, to summarize what they have learned, to present what they have learned, the knowledge, the information in the target language and in the target style, target academic genre. So basically 3 stages. So in the first stage, we can use more and more fun material. In the second stage, we allow for multiple languages, bilingual, trilingual, and multimodal sources. In the first stage, as I said, we push them a bit, but depending on the level of your students, they can also produce multimodal products, like they can produce a poster for healthy eating, promoting healthy eating, or they can compose a song for healthy eating, or they can design and develop, produce a video, a YouTube video, a short video to introduce the why and the how of healthy eating, for example. So they would have an authentic context and an authentic audience to present the output. There's their multimodal output, spoken and written output. And then we repeat the cycle so that we can do parallel topics, similar topics with similar tasks. That leads us to the consideration of another concept, designing parallel tasks. It's very important because students need to experience and read and write and speak and understand repeatedly about a similar topic. And yet we need to vary the content a little bit, otherwise it will become too boring. So designing parallel tasks become a very useful strategy. So this is an example. For example, it's healthy eating example. We have task 1 and task 2. So in task 1, students play the role of a food detective. They identify food items which are healthy and those which are unhealthy. And then a parallel task 2, can be they need to design a healthy lunchbox for their parent. For example, if their parents have health issues or their friends' parents have health issues. And then another task can be they can design an unhealthy lunchbox for contrast. And so students do a similar task. They get to practice the language repeatedly, but with some variation in the meaning, in the content. So that's how we try to engage students. Another point is it would be good to integrate the task using into your regular curriculum. So this is a Taiwan school curriculum. You do have topics related to healthy eating and food safety. So when you plan a unit of work using the MEC, we stress the importance of taking seriously both the language learning outcomes and the content topical learning outcomes. Otherwise, students will say, oh, I can say whatever I like, as long as my grammar is right, my spelling is right. That's not the bilingual education or content-based education approach. because if the content is not for real, the interest level has dropped. The students can see through it. They will say, oh, it's not for real. But if the content is compelling, it is real, it can get students to solve real life problems, then the interest is intrinsic. And then mobilizing the language to both access information, research the topic, and then present their own synergy, their own knowledge, becomes a compelling, meaningful task for them to mobilize their language resources to do the task. So it's not just, oh, I'm just doing this for language learning. No, so the content, learning topics, and outcomes are equally important in planning a CLIL task using the MEC. So for this example, for example, the language learning outcomes will be vocabulary related to food items, and also the vocabulary and the sentence pattern for providing reasons. This is a healthy food item because, right? So depending on the level, you can design different learning outcomes with different difficulty levels. And then equally important, as I said, the content, the topical learning outcomes will be students really learn something about the food pyramid and about which food categories are healthy and which are not healthy. And then they have got some real knowledge through the task. So here's the example, scaffolding students, stage 1, using the MEC to plan the unit of work. On the unit of work can, depending on your context and the level, the unit of work can cover one double period, that is usually two 40-minute lessons, depending on your school system. For example, this is planned for a double period, a 2 40-minute lesson. The 2 lessons can be on the same day or on different days in the week, in the same week. So the first stage is to get students excited and interested in the topic. So the first is to look at the pictures. We use a lot of visuals, right? And the task is not that challenging. They just need to link up the food item with the food label: carrots, broccoli, sausages, sesame, fried drumsticks, pearl milk tea. So it's a typical Taiwanese lunchbox, for example. So, and students are provided with bilingual text here, mission 1, and then in their familiar first language, so that they don't feel that, oh, it's so off-putting, it's so difficult. They feel familiar, to so to speak, to hook them in first, to get them interested, and not to be so scared about the learning task first. Then stage 2, we engage them once they find out, okay, is this healthy or not? Have we got enough knowledge to identify healthy food items from unhealthy food items? Then we introduce a piece of text, the target language, the second language text. So the food pyramid. Again, you can see the text has got the diagram, the visual to help them. Oh, this is the food pyramid. And then the English text to explain the food pyramid, using the food pyramid to plan your daily food choices. So we also provide a little bit of bilingual support here. You can see that I have annotated lean meat and sausages and processed, right? Contains balanced diet, each shelf. So some key vocabulary items, we have provided some bilingual scaffolding. So as again, it is to help students to feel, okay, confident. Okay, it's not that difficult. I can do it, because otherwise they would say, oh, it's too difficult. too many English words, I don't want to attempt it, right? As English teachers in Asian context, I always hear teachers saying, oh, students just tune out when everything is in English. So we try to hook them in. We try to get them feeling it is doable, they can do it. Second stage, and still second stage, we try to help them to understand the organization of a text by using this genre-based approach. The introduction, the food pyramid, shows how much of what you eat should come from each shelf of the diagram, right? The food pyramid. So this paragraph is an introduction. It gives the definition of the food pyramid. So the food pyramid shows, right? And the purpose of using it. Then the second paragraph, there are 6 shelves. The top shelf contains blah, blah, blah. So the second paragraph is a description of the food pyramid. It gives some facts about the food pyramid, particularly the 6 shelves. So students know that, oh, this is a coherent text with introduction, description, and finally with the conclusion, the last paragraph. Following the food pyramid does not mean that you need to achieve this balance with every single meal. However, one should aim to get the balance over the day or over the week. So conclusion usually provides some reminders of how to use the food pyramid as a summary. So when we engage students in reading and note-taking, at the same time, we also engage them as an analyst, a little analyst, so that when they need to produce a similar text, a similar explanation text to explain some content topic, like the food pyramid or something else, they know the organization. We call this a genre-based approach. The introduction, the description, and conclusion. At least it is a short but very cohesive text that they can write when they become a writer themselves. As they're reading, they're preparing themselves to become a writer in the future. Now, don't say, oh, their level is too low, they can never write. No, even though they have beginning level, when they read, they also can analyze the writing, and then that's preparing them to write a similar text in the future. So it is a writerly reader, we say. We engage them as a reader and as a future writer. This is very important for teachers. We need to empower students with these identities, reader identity and writer identities. And still in stage 2, we engage students in taking notes because it is an information text, is very rich in information. So we provide them with the graphic organizer. Here we provide them with this tree diagram, the food pyramid, that's the main topic. The whole information text is to give you information about this topic, this content topic, the food pyramid. And then we can organize the information under 3 questions, right? What is the food pyramid? Why do we need the food pyramid? And how to use the food pyramid? Basically, the text is organized into 3 paragraphs, answering these 3 main questions. So by providing students with this graphic organizer, this tree diagram, we actually help the students to extract the main ideas, to take notes. Taking notes means to extract the main ideas, the main information. And then they can summarize the text, right? By using this kind of like a handle. Oh, this text, what is it about? It's about the food pyramid. And what is it? Why do we need it? And how to use it, right? Text is about these 3 main ideas. Then they can write the notes. And again, we scaffold it a little bit. If your students are very advanced, then you can gradually take out the scaffolding. But if your students are at beginning level, or they have never taken notes before, or in English, in their second language, then you need to provide like this. We provide the notes. They just need to fill in some keywords, right? But later on, you can take away the scaffolding a little bit more, and then they can write their notes using their own sentences. But to start with, if they feel, oh, it shows how much of what people should eat, then they just extract the keywords. It might be easier. And you can, as a teacher, we can walk through the task with students. We jointly take notes with students as an example to show them how we can take notes. So this is second stage, note taking with reading. And the reading is with bilingual scaffolding, bilingual support. And then the third stage, now they need to output what they have learned, what they have extracted the information, right? And then they need to explain and communicate what they have learned. So this is the mission 2. Explain if Jia has a healthy meal or not. Remember that lunchbox that we started with in stage 1? They need to go back to the diagram, the visual, the picture, and explain whether Chia's lunchbox is healthy or not. Now, again, depending on your level of your students, the level of your students, if they are beginning students, again, you want to scaffold them so that they feel a sense of success, so that they don't say, oh, it's too difficult, it's beyond me, I give up, I don't want to, I tune out. You don't want that. But as they become more and more confident, you can withdraw the scaffolding gradually. But for beginning students, you can actually provide scaffolding in this sentence generative powerhouse. It is actually a table for generating sentences, which are useful in expressing those functions. I call functions like explaining why it is healthy, why it is not healthy. And these are useful sentence patterns in the target language, right? Of course, they can explain it in their familiar L1 first language, but if you ask them to explain why it is healthy and not healthy in their less familiar language, then we need to provide scaffolding. For example, sentence making powerhouses. Okay, it is actually sentence making table. So, for example, you can do one example with them. Jia has a healthy meal because meat is good for her. Or sausages. Now you let the students tell you because it's about content, but you provide the language support. You see what I mean? So students are not dumb. They get the knowledge. They become experts, okay, in terms of knowledge. But the language is not very familiar to them. So you provide the language support, but they give you the knowledge. Get them to give you the knowledge, but you support them with the language, right? So you could ask them, Jia seems to have many sausages in the lunchbox. Is eating many sausages good or bad for her? I get the students say, eating many sausages is bad for her. Why? Okay. And then you can get students to use the sentences. Eating too much fried chicken is bad for her. Too much oil, right? That's too much oil. Too much oil is bad for her. So you can use the sentence making generating powerhouse, okay, is a table, to support students' communicative competencies development. But the ideas are from the students. They are the knowledge experts. They give you the knowledge, but you scaffold them. You are the language expert. We scaffold them with teachers, scaffold them with our language scaffolding, with our language support. So, so students are contextualizing the experience. And textualizing is a word to mean you put things into a text, okay? You output your ideas, your knowledge, your experience, represent them in a text, that is contextualizing their experience, their knowledge, their ideas in a text, in the English text in this parallel task. So, so we have another task, parallel task, right? Repetition with variation. So the student gets lots and lots of reinforcement, lots and lots of practice with using the language to express their ideas, and yet it is not too boring. For example, this parallel task using lunchbox for Superman. Superman has lost his ability to save the world. He needs some human food right now. Can you create a healthy lunchbox for him to regain his ability? Then for beginning students, you can get them to draw the lunchbox, to label the food items, and then to write sentences to explain why, what are there and why it is healthy for him, using the sentence patterns that they have learned. Oh, this is healthy for him because there is not much oil, because there is a lot of protein, because there is a lot of rice. So you can provide them with the vocab, with the sentence pattern, or you can improvise a little bit, but they still have the support from you. And then another parallel task, task 3, lunchbox for your enemy, for Superman's enemy. Superman's enemy stole your books and ran away. Now you have a chance to create a lunchbox for Superman's enemy. Can you create an unhealthy lunchbox so that your enemy loses energy? Okay, so this is just an idea. You can create other more interesting tasks, parallel tasks. Another parallel task which can be more challenging as an extended activity for students is, you can ask them, what is this? Ooh, 珍珠奶茶. Ooh, what is 珍珠奶茶? Oh, pearl bubble drink, bubble drink. And then you can show them a YouTube video. This is the link here in my PowerPoint. And then 珍珠奶茶, oh, pearl bubble drink. Oh, can make you fat. Oh, you will gain 5 kilograms if you drink one 珍珠奶茶 one day. Okay, this is a real life scenario, a real life health issue, right? It is not just invented by us language teachers. It's a real life issue. So engage them, and don't be shy in stage 1 to use multilingual text, bilingual text, all kinds of text, just to get them excited, get them interested in the topic of 珍珠奶茶. Oh, should I be drinking so much 珍珠奶茶? Should my mom be drinking that much? Should my friends be drinking that much? Right? So that's stage 1, engaging them, getting them excited, using multimodal, visuals, YouTube videos, bilingual text. Then you engage stage 2, engage them to read a piece of text about 珍珠奶茶, pearl milk drink. And again, you scaffold them with like tapioca. Oh, I know tapioca, it just means something I'm familiar with, right? Or syrup, okay, or to chill, to mix, or creamers. So you scaffold them so that they don't feel, oh, it's full of difficult words, I can't do it. You don't want them to have that feeling. You want to scaffold them with bilingual support, with pedagogical translanguaging. So again, you analyze, this is an information text. It has an introduction of the topic, pearl milk drink. It describes the ingredients, and the final paragraph. The final paragraph is a summary of the rest of the recipe for how to make pearl milk tea. Okay, so you're reinforcing students' writer identity, because when they write a similar information text in the future, they know, oh, at least I should have introduction, description, and conclusion on the same topic, or the information text on the same topic. This is the genre-based approach, right? This is an information text on the same topic. We need to have at least 3 sections. Each section will focus on introducing, describing, and concluding. So this is preparing the students to become a future writer, even as they are reading, okay? So it is very holistic, developing their 4 skills and also their identity. A lot of ESL, EFL students, oh, I can only read, I cannot write. Now this is not true. If you can read and you can analyze the text in this very, very upfront and reader-friendly way, that you can prepare them to become future writers of a similar text type, a similar information text. So stage 2, you engage students. Now we use a different diagram, a graphic organizer, to help them to extract the information, the main ideas, to take notes. So, so what are the ingredients? Students need to take notes by summarizing the ingredients to make the pearl milk tea. So you can give the task, read the text, and then take notes about the main ingredients of the pearl milk drink. So that can be the task for stage 2, reading and note-taking. And then stage 3, you can get them to redesign the recipe, redesign the ingredients to make the pearl milk drink, the 珍珠奶茶, more healthy. The original recipe is not healthy, but you want to make it more healthy. So you give the students an authentic, real-life scenario to do their output task. They need to produce a more healthy recipe for the 珍珠奶茶. So again, you provide lots of scaffolding. You give them an example, right? You can do it together with them first and discuss with them, what can we replace syrup with? What can we replace sugar with? How can we reduce the amount of sugar or the amount of creamer? What can we replace creamer with so that it becomes more healthy? You can discuss with your students, get them excited, and then they can have real life knowledge to tackle real life scenarios. And then you just supply the language support to help them to, they're experts, right? They have read, they become the expert in this topic, and then you can help them to express their expert ideas. So I have basically gone through the MEC with an example, and I hope that teachers and teacher educators will find this approach maybe useful, and you can feel free to adapt them for your individual teaching and learning context. Each context is different, so feel free to adjust, adapt, change things that make it easier for your students, easier for you to fit into the constraints of your teaching and learning environment. So basically the MEC has 3 stages, and then each stage you can plan different activities, and then you repeat the cycle, repetition with variation, so that students get lots and lots of practice, and we capitalize on students' strengths. They can get information knowledge from multiple sources, multilingual sources, multimodal sources, and get them excited and get them become real life experts on a certain topic. And then we as teachers, we support them, we scaffold them, we show them examples. We first do an example with them, and then let them work in groups, in pairs to do it themselves, right? So the whole approach is to leverage on their strengths. They all come with a lot of resources. They just need to get a little bit of pushing in the 3rd stage to artificially constrain them a bit to use the target language in the output stage. And yet we can repeat the cycle in the first 2 stages. They get lots and lots of excitement from multiple multilingual and multimodal sources of knowledge of information to prepare them, becoming knowledgeable experts in the topic. And then stage 3, they output their knowledge. They represent their knowledge using the target language, target styles, academic genres, academic styles, or you can have intermediate output items. They can prepare a cartoon strip. They can write a song about healthy eating. They can prepare a little pamphlet for their parents and friends about healthy eating, and so on and so forth. So you can be creative with it. So I hope this has been useful for you, and I'm really happy to answer any questions that you might have, and also to hear your feedback your comments and your suggestions. Let's journey together, because we are always learning, and I'm always learning by working with teachers and teacher educators. And here's my email, and feel free to reach out and email me, and we can continue our conversation. And I can learn a lot from you when you try out the MEC in your context and tell me how you need to adapt it and adjust it. So thank you very much. It's Q&A now.